Hey everyone, Shane here with etrailer.com. Today I have 2021 Chrysler Pacifica. I'm going to walk through how to install the Curt custom vehicle wiring harness with 4-pole flat trailer connector. This is what it's going to look like when it's installed. The kit does not come with this 4-pole bracket. However, you can pick one up here at eTrailer to give your wiring a more permanent mounting location. The wiring harness is designed to give your trailer the proper lighting function so you're legal and safe. Brake signal, turn signals, and running lights. It's going to come with a nice dust cap, so when you're not using it, it'll keep any dirt and debris off the plug itself. This wiring harness is going to install directly to the factory plugs behind each tail light. It is going to be compatible with 5, 6, and 7-pole adapters, which you can find here at eTrailer, depending on how your trailer is set up. It's going to give us 3 amps per circuit for our stop and turn signals, 6 amps per circuit for our tail lights. As far as the installation process, pretty simple and straightforward. As I mentioned earlier, it's going to plug directly in behind each tail light. It is going to be outside the vehicle. The only thing that's going to be a little bit difficult, and I don't really want to say it's difficult, is the easiest way to run this is to pull the outer edges of your fascia out, because there's very limited space between here and the plastic piece that's underneath of it to get the plugs up inside. So to make it easier on yourself, take a few screws out, pop those panels out. You can just slide your wire in and then up to your tail lights. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let's walk through how to get it installed. Start our installation. We're going to remove the 2 bolts on our tail light and this one down here. These are 6-point star bits. If you don't have one, you can use a flat head to get those out. We're going to pull back on our tail light, push the red tab up, push the black tab down, and disconnect your light, set your light aside. You're going to repeat that on the other side of the vehicle. Now what I recommend, we're not going to be taking the fascia all the way off, but we are going to be loosening this side because everything up here is so tight. It's going to be easier to loosen this, get our wiring ran up over here with this fascia loose. I recommend taping these 2 lines here so that as you are trying to run your wiring through there, if one panel overlaps the other, you don't cause any damage. And we're going to take an 8mm socket. Inside the wheel well, we're going to have 4 screws we need to take out. Here, 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 and then 1 directly behind the tire on the bottom. And we're going to take a 10mm socket. Straight up from this corner, there's a bolt that ties this panel to this panel. We need to remove that as well. Right on the top here, we're going to pull out this fastener. We use a plastic trim panel tool so we don't damage the paint. And what we're going to do is we're going to start on the corner right here. We're going to start pulling it loose all the way up to here. Once you get up to here, you just kind of lift. This will pull this over top of these tabs. Again, we're not taking it all the way off, so we're not going all the way to the middle. We're just going to here to give us some room to get our wiring up to there. So this is what you're looking for. We're going to take the big bundle of black wire that comes in our kit, one end, we're going to strip it back. We're going to add on a heat shrink butt connector. Your kit comes with butt connectors, but I recommend going with a heat shrink butt connector. Installing it this way because it is going to be outside the vehicle, and the heat shrink will help protect the connection from corrosion. We'll add it on to the black wire coming off of our converter box. And then we'll take our heat source and shrink it up. If you don't have a heat gun, you can find one here at eTrailer. We're going to take the end with our yellow and brown wires. We're going to feed it behind our fascia. plug it into the correct plugs. And this one will go in place of your tail light. What I also recommend doing is this fastener right here, because your tail light fits in there kind of tight, is take this fastener off and tuck this wire down inside there, so then all you have is this plug behind your light. Now we're going to take the two-sided tape that comes in our kit, stick it on the back of your converter box, peel off the other side, and I'm going to stick it actually around the back side of my bumper beam right here. That way I know my green wire that's got to go over my passenger side is going to be long enough. Make sure that area is clean, so wipe it off. Go like that. And then we can get all this wire straightened up a little bit later. We'll take our green wire, we're going to route it over to our passenger side. Go ahead and go back behind these fascia tabs. We'll leave that hang just like that for now. We'll take our 4-pole wire, we're going to route it the same way, or we're going to come down right here. Take the rest of this, zip tie it up and out of the way. You're going to have a white wire with a ring terminal on. That's going to be your ground wire. Kit's going to come with a self-tapping screw. We need to make sure we're grounding it to metal. I'm going to go right there where that metal doubles up. Now we need to run our power wire up to the front of the vehicle. You want to make sure you're staying away from anything hot or moving. What I did is went over top of my receiver tube, came along right on the side, went over top of my body mount here, over top here where this factory wiring is, came down over top of my fill tube for my fuel tank, followed these lines. This panel here, 10mm socket, you're going to have nuts that run along this outside edge. Pull those off and you can pull this panel down and you can take your wire and just tuck it up in there. Come up to the front, you're going to have a panel. It's going to look like this. It's going to sit right here. It's going to have a nut here, a nut here. You're going to take a large flathead screwdriver. You're going to loosen that as you're pulling down on it. Once you do that, you can remove this panel, take your wire. It's going to come out right here and feed it straight across. When it comes across, right at the corner of your heat shield is this panel. You're going to pull it out right here. And then we can take a pull wire, we can feed it down from the engine compartment, and then we can take that, tape our wire to it, and pull it up, and then get it attached to our battery. Now, because the back of the light is so tight up against the body of the vehicle, when you shove this down in here, it's not going to make this long enough because the plug actually sits at the top of the light. So what you're going to need to do is where the plug is on the light, this little metal clip, you just pull up on it. Probably need a flathead screwdriver. We're going to pull that wire loose, and then this zip tie right here, it's actually clamped on. You can either pull the clamp off or you can just cut that little zip tie. Make sure you don't cut the wiring. We're going to pull that wire loose. We'll get it connected. That way we have plenty. This plug will actually sit down inside of here when we put our light back in place. Now, be sure, before you put your light back in place, put your rear fascia, get it connected back up, put that tab back in, and then it fits right in place. And we're going to pull our black wire up from the bottom. What I did is I ran it around my air box. There's a bracket right here. I ran it underneath of it, underneath these wires here, zip tied it here. We're going to remove this. So all we're going to do is pull up. We'll slide it out. And this gives us access to our battery. So now I can take my wire. I'm actually going to be hooking it up on this post here. So we want to make sure we have enough. up there. Strip back the end. We're going to take our fuse holder, strip back both ends. Add her on the ring terminal. Comes in the kit on one side. Heat shrink butt connector on the other. Connected to the wire. And we can take our heat source and shrink that up. I'm going to take the rest of this, I'm going to tuck it down just like that. 10mm socket. Move this here. Add on the ring terminal. Reinstall the stud. Once you've got it installed, go ahead and put your fuse in, and then we can test everything out and make sure it's working correctly. Now we'll test everything out using part number I26. Left turn, right turn, brakes, running lights. That's going to do it for a look at and installation on the Curt custom vehicle wiring harness on the 2021 Chrysler Pacifica.